During my last race of the season, I was looking down at my head unit and I was seeing power numbers that I had never seen before, and I was hardly feeling my legs. I was on what is generally considered a good day. Now, as I've been preparing my 2024 plan, I've been trying to analyze and unpack what I did to get me to that point. And I feel pretty good about the plan that I seem to have built. A very good day, and thank you for checking out this video. If you are a returning viewer, thank you very much, massively appreciated. If this is the first time that you're watching one of my videos, I very much enjoy preparing for traveling to and participating in Gran Fondo bike races around the world. If that's the sort of thing that you find interesting, perhaps consider subscribing to the channel. You will then be kept informed whenever I release a new piece of content. Just a quick word of warning, none of the stuff that I'll be talking about today will have any relevance or be applicable to people that race every week. I race about 3 or 4 times a year. I spread them out nicely across the year because that's kind of what works best for my life and lifestyle at the minute. So if you find yourself in a similar position and situation, perhaps you'll find something of interest in what I will be covering in today's video. So the fact that I ended up with that very good day during my last race of last season wasn't by design. It was by accident. It was almost given to me. And that's kind of the reason that I wanted to really unpack the year that I had last year and then kind of try and stitch it back together in this year's training plan so that ideally I can maximize my chances of ending up with another one of those good days during my A race next year, which is the RBC Gran Fondo in Whistler, Canada, which is also the whole point of this series. It's been an interesting kind of exercise for me to do that because I don't know much about sports science, but it's kind of allowed me to learn a little bit more about the different phases of a training plan. So hopefully that reflects in the training plan that I have created, but the proof will be in the pudding and the proof will be in the numbers that I'll see next year on my head unit. What I'll be covering today is the broader plan, kind of spread out across the year. It won't be going into the daily detail. For that, I use a solution called Join. I did a video on that a few weeks ago here on the channel. I'll try and link that video up above here somewhere. That essentially is a solution that tells me what training session I should do on which particular day based on my availability. Also note that the plan starts in January of 2024. We are now at the tail end of December, and I have already been training for about a month and a half to 2 months. That won't be part of the visual plan that you'll see in a minute, but just know that I've already been doing training that has been primarily focused around zone 2 and zone 3. Nothing too excessive, a bit of intensity speckled in here or there for good measure. I haven't been doing crazy amounts of volume because it's winter, the weather hasn't been great, but I've been doing something. The fitness has been kind of, gradually increasing day by day. Alrighty, let's take a look then, shall we? All roads lead to Rome, or in my case, Whistler in September of 2024. That is my only A race of the year, of the season. And that's where the plan already differs from last year. Last year I had 3 A events that I wanted to do equally well at. But in kind of reviewing my year last year, I noticed that didn't really work out all that well. In fact, those 2 races prior to my peak race last year ended up being kind of stepping stones. They were launching pads from which I was able to propel my fitness to the next level. And it was only at the end of last season that I really saw the peak fitness. That is something that I would like to emulate. So this year I am going to really harness those preparatory races and consciously try and use those launching pads, right? You'll notice that there are 2 B races and 1 C race. I was actually quite lucky because the timing of the RBC Fondo kind of aligns with the timing of the peak race that I did last season. So all I had to do was kind of find replacement races for the races that I did last year. And these will be treated as preparatory races. The further away from September, the more I will treat them as a preparatory race. For example, you'll notice that there will be a first one in February. I've marked that one a C race. That is just kind of part of a training camp. It's almost like an extension to a training camp, and I won't be doing any tapering for that. Most I'll do is just one day of kind of easy riding with some openers before first race day. In June, we're gonna have a second race, and in between, obviously February and June, I'll have a lot of time to properly train. The fitness should have taken a serious bump by then, and in June, we'll equally treat it as a preparatory race, but we might just, put a little bit more emphasis on the taper at that moment. Come August and September, that's the time when I kind of need to have the fitness. That's when I will be treating that B race in August almost as an A race, but not entirely. Why? Because that's a race that will be in Canada already. I want to make the most of my trip, so I want to do very well at that race. But then the full gas taper, well, I'll really be consciously focusing on bringing up the freshness, bringing down the fatigue, and really, keeping as much fitness as possible. It is going to happen in about 1 to 2 weeks before, I guess the 7th of September it is, the race. If we then take a look at the blocks in the different phases, nothing too extraordinary there, just the basic base, build, and specify. You'll notice here in January I start with a build. That's because of what I explained. I've already been doing some base. Then after the C race in February, there will be a big block of base that I'll do, a build, specify again. And then a tiny block of base right after that B race. Why? Together with the family, after the B race, we'll be traveling on to Spain for a week in the area of Girona, and I'll be using that week for another kind of little block of just endurance, zone 2, zone 3 while climbing. And then we'll go into the last big build and specification block ahead of game time. You'll notice here as well that there are 2 gaps in the training plan. That is by design. Those are actually full breaks. No riding, no running, no strength training, nothing. In the past couple of years, I've really benefited from allowing my body to kind of fully reset mid-season once or twice. And you don't lose that much fitness within a week. You obviously lose some, but not that much. But the benefits of allowing your body, or at least for me, the benefits for me to allow my body to reset are massive. Like, I'm mentally fresh, physically relatively fresh. I'm kind of ready to attack the next phase. Let's take a look at the actual races then, shall we? In February, the family and I will be traveling to the island of Gran Canaria, which is one of the Canary Islands, Spanish Canary Islands off the coast of Africa. Ideally, hopefully we'll try and get a bit of sun. It'll be a good week of training, enjoying ourselves, and then there is a 2-day stage race that will happen that I will participate in. Not too crazy. There's a stage which is 115K and then another stage which is 75, but not the entire race is timed. It works with timed segments. Pretty chunky segments, they're pretty large. So it's a bit like the Haute Route experience, if you're familiar with that. So it's not gonna be too crazy. So that's why it was kind of ideal to get a first little peek in there early in the season. Then in June, we'll be going to the Galibier in France, one of the most iconic climbs in the world of cycling. There are 2 races actually, and I'm quite excited about that. On the Saturday of that weekend, there's something called Maurienne Gravel, which is a gravel race, 55K, in and around the Galibier area. Really looking forward to that. And then the next day on Sunday, there is the Galibier Challenge, which is a road race, a road fondo, with the finish line on top of the Galibier. That should be a killer weekend. Obviously, I'll be creating a video around that as well. And moving on, getting closer to game time, this will be as we have traveled to Canada with the family. Tour de Victoria on Victoria Island. I've never been there myself, so I'm looking forward to that. Timing is quite well. Those were the 2 fondos that I was able to do, and kind of get into the whole logistical operation. It might be a bit complicated jet lag wise because I think it's 5 or 6 days after arriving in Canada, but it'll have to do. We'll try to make it work somehow. And then finally, the big one, the RBC Gran Fondo to Whistler. That is the plan. Like I said, I am quite happy with it. And not only because of what it looks like, but also because it now has given me a lot of mental calmness. Again, I'm the type of person that does very well with structure. I know that of myself, so I try to build structure as early as possible. I now have the structure locked in. I can focus on other things in my life and just get the training done based on what I see here in front of me. Is this a good plan? I don't know. I like it. I feel comfortable with it. So I guess that's already part of it. Will it work? I don't know. We'll see. And you'll see as you keep following along this journey. And that's that. All that's left for me to do is thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. It helps the channel. Thank you very much. If you would like to follow along, then subscribe to the channel. Don't forget. Have a very good day, whatever it is that you do, wherever you are. Enjoy yourself, be safe, and be healthy. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.